Title: AITA for not telling a vegan mom that the candy she stole from my kids and was eating wasn't vegan? This happened on Halloween and the day following. My neighbor, 38F, super vegan, has 2 kids. I, 26F, also have 2 kids. My apartment complex didn't do traditional trick-or-treating on Halloween. Residents were advised to set out pre-packaged individual candy bags on their patios, front door areas if they wanted to participate, but the traditional knock on door, physically hand strangers candy, was not permitted. So, Halloween comes and the kids are all dressed up and each building has a scheduled time where the kids go door to door. I ended up having to work late, so my neighbor offered to walk my kids around with hers at our building's scheduled time. About 45 minutes later my kids came home with a small bucket of candy, 6 little goodie bags each from individual apartments that participated. Everything was fine, and my kids didn't say anything weird had happened. They were just excited to eat candy once they got home, lol. The next day I took my kids to the park directly across from our apartment complex. My neighbor was there with her kids as well. The kids were playing and she took out one of those individual goodie bags with candy in it from her purse and started to loudly rummage in it. She ate several pieces of candy and my daughter eventually noticed, ran up and asked if she could have a piece, and my neighbor responded, "Nope, this is my tax candy. Remember that this was my reward for taking you trick-or-treating last night." I was a little weirded out by that statement and asked what she meant. She said that since she is the one who had to take the kids out, she took 5 bags from each of my kids as a tax. Her son then chimes in and said, "You only took 2 bags from us." She responded with, "But I'm your mom. I was doing Op a favor so they get a higher candy tax." I was thinking about how to respond when I noticed that she was holding a Starburst candy and decided to just smile and nod and go back to watching my kids. I let her continue to finish off the bag of candy and then said, "Hey, aren't you vegan? You know a lot of those candies are made with animal products, right?" I explained what gelatin was and how a lot of those candies are made with it. She was horrified, Googles it, and then told her kids that they were leaving. She said something about how she was going to be sick and stormed off. Now she's giving me dirty looks every time we see her and won't let her kids play if she shows up at the park and we are there. Title: AITA for saying I won't attend Christmas if my aunt and uncle will be there, resulting in them being uninvited. When I was 17, I got pregnant and my parents kicked me out. My aunt and uncle offered me their guest room, but after a few weeks, they sat me down and said they wanted my baby. I then got a guilt trip of pro-life propaganda, mixed with telling me I couldn't take care of a kid, and that they let me live with them for free, and basically said that I should give them my kid because of all this. I said yes, because I was worried they'd kick me out if I said no. I sat my A-levels, and when my student loan came through, I just left and went to my chosen uni, a few hours away. I was about 7 months pregnant at the time. I tried to talk to them about it, but they wouldn't listen, so I wrote them a letter instead. By the time I arrived, I had a ton of messages from them, upset with, mad at me for how I handled things. I got a job, gave birth, and ended up delaying uni, but I ultimately got my degree and my daughter, and I came out the other side of it. I went straight from uni to a career, all based in this town a few hours from my hometown. In this time I had in-person contact with my younger siblings, who have met my daughter, but this has only been a couple of times a year, and I have fairly regular phone calls with my grandparents, who have never met my daughter in person. I went back to my hometown once, 3 years ago, for my father's funeral, without my daughter, and I ended up getting into drama with both my mother, and my aunt, uncle, and I've not been back since, despite my siblings and grandparents encouraging me to come. My daughter is turning 7 this month. Nan said that I have to come see them this Christmas. I hesitated, and Nan asked what the issue is. I explained that I was worried I'd run into my mother, uncle, or aunt. Nan said that Mum hasn't been invited to Christmas since she kicked me out, and that if my aunt and uncle were an issue, she'd uninvite them, too, as she wants to see both me and my daughter at Christmas. I said if that's how she feels then I'll do my best for us to be there. However, in the few days since that phone call with Nan, all hell has broken loose. My aunt and uncle have contacted me and said that I'm a being petty, vindictive bitch for getting them uninvited from Christmas, and my cousin, their daughter, sides with them, saying I'm being a cunt for being upset with them nearly 8 years later and using my daughter's status as the only great-grandchild and the only relative my grandparents have never met as a bargaining chip to get my way. My siblings are torn between feeling that I should be allowed to state my feelings and that it was Nan's choice to uninvite them, and saying that I could have just left it alone and trusted that if there was an issue people would intervene before it got ugly, and that I should tell Nan to reinvite them and apologize to them for getting them temporarily booted. Title: AITA for screwing my son over in favor of his wife. My adult son, Bob, is a lazy, arrogant, entitled, abusive, know-it-all. I tried to parent him, but my wife always threatened to divorce me and take all the kids anytime I abused him, lecturing, grounding, taking away privileges. I know I'm not innocent in this, but Bob has turned out insufferable. 8 years ago Bob, then 26, married Beth, 19. They had twins right away, so I gave him a glorified job that he's still doing. I gave Beth got an entry-level position with a couple years later, and she quickly worked her way up. She's indispensable now. 3 years ago I asked her to go to school to learn the technical side of the business. She's doing amazing and will even finish early. Bob didn't want Beth to go to school, but I pressured and bribed to get him to accept. I offered an extra allowance and told him that she could help him run the company after I pass. I might be taught because I lied. I have zero intention of giving him the company. Bluntly, he's incompetent. I've been grooming Beth in the background to succeed me. I'm secretly planning to retire in the next 5 to 6 years after Beth is established. Bob gave up his dream job to stay and work here. Which I know is bad. But he was expecting me to fund his career, so am I still the bad guy? Edit. To answer a couple of questions. 1. Bob wanted to be a music producer too. I haven't directly told Beth that I will support her if she leaves, but y'all have convinced me I should. 3. Yes, I've talked to a lawyer. A whole team of them. Title: AITA for leaving when my husband bought his sister a car using our joint account without telling me. My F30 sister-in-law F21 is in college. She struggles with transportation. She doesn't have money to buy her own car. She relays on her parents for monthly expenses. My husband would drive her places whenever she gives him a call, but it started interrupting his work. It became an issue, and even though I suggested options like getting a private driver to drive her places and get monthly salary, or find a job near where she lives and start saving and travel with taxi temporarily, my husband didn't approve of any of these options and said that as a family we should do more to help her. Last week I was at the bank, and I haven't been to the bank in a while since my husband told me that he's been taking care of everything in this regard. I was surprised to find my husband took $15,000 from our account about 2 weeks ago and didn't tell me nor even mention it. I was mad, especially when I told him at home, and he said he took out money to pay for a car his sister showed him, as they have been viewing cars for some time. He said he didn't want to tell me because he thought I'd get mad, and he was planning on returning the money in few months and was hoping I wouldn't notice. Well, we basically have only $2,000 in our account, and this is not acceptable because I feel like I was being fooled. I told him I have other commitments. And our baby is gonna need things that I won't be able to afford, but he said he'd figure something out. I got so tired of him I needed a break. Title: Update: AITA for having pot cookies out in the open in my own home. Link to the original post. First, I would like to apologize for my non-responses. I got pretty high after my sister left, and I completely forgot about the post. It's been a few months and I logged onto this account accidentally and noticed a few messages asking for an update about this. So I thought I would oblige since the post blew up. Like, whoa, thank you all for reading, and a special thanks to the people who gave me awards. For a while after the post, my sister was on a tirade trying to get everyone to agree with her, but thankfully most people were on my side. Even my staunchly Catholic parents said she should have given me a warning before just dropping by, saying she knew I was a pothead and it was rude of her. Which was surprising since my parents are not okay with me being a pothead. I linked her to the original post, and about a few days later she apologized and realized she was in the wrong and said she was sorry for freaking out, but still maintains marijuana shouldn't be in reach of kids, but has admitted that she should have given me a heads up. We had since mended our relationship and she actually now texts me when she wants to visit, so that's a win. I had also apologized to my niece promising kid treats to be kept at my house for any chance of her visiting again, and I have a bunch of normal cookies and whatnot just in my cupboard, of course not revealing why the cookies were adult cookies, even though she really wanted to know what made them adult cookies. Turned out she was freaking out because I yelled at her the first time I raised my voice towards her, which makes sense why she freaked out so much, and we're back to having a friendly relationship too, which is nice. Sorry that it's not that exciting of an update, but just thought I'd post it.